Hi Richard, we've got a walk around for your new 6 MCR here. So first up, we'll just go over the attachments and run through them. So the detachable hydraulic tilt hitch, I'll come around to the other side here. So this is the tilt hitch and it's got the Stucci block. So that's up here. When you're using the tilt hitch, when you have this tap towards the top, so you can see it says top on there, that means that the top hydraulic hitch will work. So when you take this cap off, so you hold that lever up, pull that red little plunger there up, then you can bring that arm down. That'll allow this protective cover to come off. And you pick up the tilt hitch just like you would pick up an attachment. And then you can see in here, we've got a block there. That block comes up and gets pushed into here, and you use the cam lever to pull it up and on. Once you've done that, just move this tap around to tilt. So the tilt with the arrow that way. So that means that now the hydraulic hitch on the tilt will work. So therefore you can't drop the tilt hitch off by accident. It's either one or the other. So that's what that tap's for. Make sure you put this cover back on the hitch. There's a cover on both sides. Make sure you always put that cover back on to protect the couplings. The 350ml bucket is up there. The 600ml bucket is here. 1200 mud bucket with a bolt-on edge, that's in there. We've got the Intermercato TC250 with WD9 rotating grapple shear with head plate hoses and couplings. So this is the grapple shear here. This is the rotator. This is your head plate, hoses and couplings. So the rotator side, both plug in to the couplings. So when you take this cover off, you can see here we've got the hitch circuit at the front, so that's the front two couplings, and then the back two couplings, that's the second auxiliary circuit. So you use that for the rotation. So you plug those two couplings into these two circuits there when you're not using the tilt hitch. So then the cover goes back on. As we discussed, the tilt hitch can't be used at the same time as the rotating grab. A, the geometry is not going to work, the extra weight's not going to work, but B, you need that circuit. So if you needed to, a six-way valve could be put on this so you can electronically switch between the two, but we discussed going against that because I don't think it's very functional having the tilt and the rotate. You've got a 45-degree head plate, so you should be able to get to every angle you need with the rotation on this machine. So next is the connect head plate and the ripper. So here's the ripper, that's it there, and then the connect head plate is here. That is for the auger drive. So there's two tags at the bottom that you use the linkage block and pin off your existing head plate auger drive to run the auger on here. So coming onto the machine, on this side, this is the case drain line. So you use this if you're using a mulcher or something similar to that. This is the main auxiliary line for this side. That's the connect hitch. Come around to this side. This is your other main auxiliary line. And as I said, you've got your hitch circuit and your second auxiliary circuit in there. Tensioning the tracks is very important. In the how-to videos I've sent you, there's a how to tension your tracks correctly video. Really have a good look at that. But to explain it, there's a gauge in your toolkit, and your toolkit is inside this box with your filters. So everything, toolkit, flashing light, and whatnot are there, and your operator's manual is here. So in the toolkit, there's a track tension gauge. So you lift the machine off the ground by putting the blade down and the bucket down on the other side. You get it off the ground, and then you use the gauge to measure in the middle roller. So you can see coming into the middle here, you put a gauge in between where the roller runs and the cleat, and you put in the gauge. If it's too loose, you can tension it until the gauge only just goes in. But if the gauge can't fit in, that means that the track is too tight. If you run the tracks too tight, you can end up having damaged tracks or damaged idlers, because if you get some rocks and dirt and material caught in there, this compression spring, which is on the idler, is already bound because you've over tensioned it. So it's really important that you tension the tracks correctly. It's also really important to remember at the beginning, the tracks will stretch in. So the first 50 or 100 hours, you'll notice that the tracks will stretch and they become a little bit loose. It's really important that you each day check the track tension and just maintain the track tension until you got 50 to 100 hours on the machine, and then the track's sort of bedded in. Also on these tracks, they're a smooth ride track design, and you can see here on the inside of the cleat, you've got this rubber around the steel part. So right at the beginning, this rubber needs to wear off. It's from the mold, but it is easier at the beginning to derail a track because you've got this thin layer of rubber here still. Well, once that's worn off, you've just got steel on steel, but for now you've got this little bit of rubber in between, and that can ride up on the idler at the front. So just be mindful, make sure you're not just turning on the spot. Take 3-point turns, let the tracks wear and bed in. If you do spit a track off, it's not a big problem. You just come in here and you can see that there's a grease nipple there. Use a spanner from the toolkit and to remove the big hex, so not the small little grease nipple at the front, but the larger 22mm head. You remove that all the way out, and then you can pry using a lever. You can just pry that idler forwards and it'll pump the excess grease out. Then you lift the machine up off the ground and you'll be able to get make sure the idler's all the way in, and then you'll be able to get the track back on the idler, put your grease nipple back in, make sure it's clean. So if you have any grains of sand, it can get embedded into the seal and then it won't hold the pressure, it'll just leak out. So you have to make sure that that's clean. Put it back in, pump it back up. So yeah, make sure you're not over tensioning, but make sure you're not running them too loose because you can pop them off. Like I say, they stretch into the beginning and they've got to wear that little layer of rubber off. It's a really common thing to see, so check it daily. So like I said, in here, this is the box with the filters in it, and coming into the cab, we've got your radio here, and there's a microphone here, that's for your phone. This is a quick reference guide. So in here, you've just got part numbers for the filters, when you're supposed to use them, the type of engine oil, hydraulic oil, etc., and the volumes that you need for each type of service. Some common things like alternator belt size, which battery fits it, etc. And then this is like a servicing check. So just things to check on each service and make sure they're getting done. All of this information is in the operator's manual, but we find it handy just to have a sticker on the wall there. You've got your cigarette lighter point, cup holder, and then coming down. So when you have it in this section, the screen can come on with a key, so you just turn the key on here, but it won't operate, so that like locks out all your controls. Then we've got excavator mode, and then we've got skid steer mode. So in excavator mode, the machine will operate on the joysticks just like a normal excavator, and then when in skid steer mode, it'll operate just like a normal track loader. So again, refer to the how-to videos, that will help a lot with the basics of the controls. You've got your aircon buttons. Here we've got some auto idle, wiper, lights, beacon, continuous flow for the auxiliary. You won't need that for any of the attachments that you have. Travel alarm, sound, and then just a cruise control button. In here, you can press the button and we can go through and change settings. If we're looking for a fault code at any time for any reason, it's this page. Click the knob again, and then any fault codes will be listed on that page. Got the blade lever here. Across this side, this is your red hitch switch. So depending on which hitch you have it on, it's for if that lever there, as we talked before, is either up or down. Then you just use that and you have to hold it down. So you're gonna pull that lock back and then push it down and hold it on. That will make the cylinder retract. And then as soon as you let go, the cylinder will push back out. This is an alarm override. So if you're not using any of the attachments, but you're just lifting something off the eye on the end of the back of the hitch there, the alarm will be buzzing. You can hold this down for 3 seconds and then the alarm will stop buzzing. This is a bucket reverse switch, so that'll reverse the direction in which the bucket works. And then this is your automatic to boom coupling mode. So that's in automatic. I recommend you regularly use it in this mode here, so the switch towards this direction. And then you need to hold down this button on the top, and that will make the middle cylinder isolated. Let go of the button, it'll go back to the back cylinder. Again, watch the how-to videos, it will explain that really well. So on maintenance, window wiper bottle, this is your air filter here. In here we've got the coolant overflow bottle. This is where you fill up with diesel. Engine oil filter, engine oil dipstick, the fuel water separator, and then the fuel filter, and this is the fuel lift pump. Hydraulic control valve. The battery's in here, and you have an isolator here to turn the power off. If you're sitting the machine up for a while, just turn the isolator off, leave it off, and it just saves the battery from being drained over time. There's a couple grease nipples here as well. Again, check the operator's manual for all the grease nipple points. So I do you a quick walk around. The flashing light goes onto that pole up the top of the cab, and the flashing light's just in that box on the ground there. Okay, thanks Richard, hope you enjoy.